Hi lovely friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name's Claire from craftbeeclaire and I multi-craft and art, and today we are cracking on with the DiScArDeD project. So for today's lesson and today's session we're going to be looking at colour theory, the theory of how we mix colours to create different hues, tones, tints, shades of colour. And we are basically going to just use the three primary colours, red, yellow and blue, and we're going to use those to mix some secondary colours and some tertiary colours, and then we're going to mix in some black and some white and have a go at tinting and toning the colours that we've got. This will all really help us when we come to look at making palettes of colour for our DiScArDeD project, which will come up at the end of this video, and we'll talk about what we're going to go off and do for our homework and then come back again. So for today, for colour theory, each of my sections are going to have titles that I've harvested from magazines, and I've just cut them out and stuck them onto some strips of scrap paper. That way I can move them around the page and decide where to put them later, depending on what we do in this session. So I have taken three different types of scrap paper out of my stash. I've got some scrap music paper, a book page, and this book page is from my favourite gardening book that I use in a lot of my projects. If you've watched many of my videos, you will have seen this book many a time. So what I've done is I drew round a circle, and in actual fact I drew round this colour wheel that I have that came along with some wool that I bought for crochet that I do, and it's great for showing you the complementary colours which are opposite. You can do split complementary, so they're kind of side by side-ish. You've got triad of colours, so if you want to use three colours you can use like green and orangey red and purple, and they kind of triad complementary. And then you can have tetrad, where you've got four colours that will go together nicely. And it, as I said, this will really help you when we come to looking at the colour palettes for our DiScArDeD items. So I've drawn round that circle and I've marked off 12 parts. And all I'm going to do is I'm just cutting the three circles into, so I'm going to cut along those lines I've just drawn. It will all make sense in a minute. It might look a bit weird to begin with, but it will all make sense. Okay, so we have our primary colour sections painted, and I'm just going to pop them to one side. I'm going to have a go at mixing the secondary colours. Now, I do have issues with the secondary colours because you never really get, particularly the purple. When I think of purple, I think of like this type of purple. And it's really hard to get that just using the primary colours, because obviously those purples have got more pink in. But we're going to go with it. So I'm going to use almost equal parts of blue. And I have already had a go at mixing this together, so I'm just adding to the one that I've already started mixing, and some red, a little bit more blue, and you can see we've got, we've got quite a purple there, it's quite a reddy purple, but by adding a tiny bit more blue to it, it does make almost the purple I want. I'll do the same by mixing the red and the yellow to get orange, and then the yellow and the blue to get green. And this time I'm going to paint these book pages. And so I'm going to paint, and I'll come back to you once painted. Okay, so we have our primary colours, we have our tertiary colours. We've got the red and blue purple, yellow and red orange, yellow and blue green, and we're going to have secondary colours, not tertiary colours. And now we're going to have a go at making the tertiary colours. So to do that, you take the two colours adjacent. So I would use the blue and the purple to make a bluey purple or a purpley blue. I would use the blue and the green to make a greeny blue or a bluey green, the red and the purple to make a reddy purple or a purpley red, and so on and so on. I have this colour wheel that I created before, and so you can see, so there's my orange, and I've used my yellow and my orange to make a yellowy orange. And so that's just a real basic colour wheel that I have to one hand that I created previously. So we're going to have a go at doing that. So let's do one together. So I'm going to use the yellow and the green, and I'm going to create a yellowy green. And you can see on the palette, it's almost like a lime colour. And I'm going to use that yellowy green, and I'm going to paint one of my flower book pages, and I'm going to carry on, and I'm going to create all the other tertiary colours, and then we'll come back together again. And we're back, and I have painted all of our primary colours, red, yellow and blue, all of our secondary colours, purple, green and orange. And then we've got our tertiary colours. We've got our bluey green and our yellowy green. We've got our reddish purple and our bluey purple. And we've got our yellowy orange and our reddish orange. And now it's all about, just think about how I'm going to lay them out on the page. So I've got my title, Colour Theory. And then we've got quite a big white page. And actually, through the post, while I was painting, this arrived, and what I'm going to do, so this is the Fosway advertiser, that black and white thing. I'm going to tear some strips to go across the page, so I'm just going to roughly tear this into some strips. No rhyme or reason to these strips. I'm just going to have a few strips. And I have also cut out the last of the triangles, and we're going to use these in a minute, so don't lose them if this is what you're doing. So I'm going to pop all of the bits I don't need for now just safely out the way. I'm just going to think about covering some of this white page with some of the black and white ripped. I don't really want a rat, so we can come up to there. That can go down across there. Let's have one coming out across here. And maybe this narrower one. Coming out from the middle across the top there. And across the top there. Okay, so let's get those stuck down in a minute, and then I'll use some more of this to create coming into the middle like that one. Okay, and I'll just tear that off there, and then we'll probably need one more at the bottom, and it came out from the middle like that. So we'll just stick those down. Okay, so I'm going to get my trusty glue stick, and I'm just going to get sticking. And the last one. about right. Okay. And we're just going to snip off the excess. So this page is blank at the moment because this will be my mood board. And some of these scrappy bits that I'm snipping off will probably go on the mood board as well. I'll find some pictures, take some pictures of stuff around the house that's discarded. I probably might even stick in some rubbish and some discarded leaves and stuff. So my mood board, that'll be the next video, will be my mood board. Just cutting off the excess. Excellent. Typically me, I've chosen quite a big journal to work in, which literally fills my desk. Right, so we've got a background stuck in. Where did I put the title? So we've got colour and theory. We'll go down across page like that. Then we've got 12 of these triangles, and I think what I'm going to do is have them coming out. So we go blue, bluey purple, purple, and then it was reddy purple, red. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then orangey red. Excellent. May turn them around in a minute. And then we had bluey green, green, yellowy green, yellow, yellowy orange, and orange. Right, so this is my colour wheel. I wonder how far I can get them in. I want them to kind of spark out so that I can draw kind of lines in between them to show the complementary colours. So yeah, that's quite cool, isn't it? Quite like that. So we'll get those stuck down, and then we're going to do a bit more of the theory. We're going to write about the theory. Now, these bits I'm going to do like little blurbs on and have them sticking out, and I'm going to look at shade and tinting by adding white or grey tone in it, and yeah, so we're going to use those bits in a minute, but I'm going to get this stuck down and then I'll come back to you. we're back and that's all stuck down. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use some white mixed with the primary and the secondary colours to create some different tints, lighter versions. So I'm just going to use some white paint and some red paint, and it doesn't matter that my palette's dried because they're watercolours, so I just add a bit of water to it and it gives me the colour. Now that's quite wishy-washy, so I'm going to add a little bit more red to it. I really want a bright initial version of each colour of the primary and the secondary. So I'm just going to add a little bit of red at a time and create a strip, paint a strip even. And as you'll know, red and white make pink. And because my red's quite an orangey red, actually, it's not a very pinky red, it's creating almost like a salmony pink, which is quite nice. I quite like the colour. I'm then going to do this for the rest of the primary colours and the secondary colours, but I'm actually going to use the pre-made orange, purple and green in my watercolour tin, because I just want a really true colour to start with. And we've had a go at the colour mixing in the colour wheel, so it'd be quite nice just to have that true colour and be able to add the white to it to get lighter shades of the colour. So just add in the last little bit of white, okie dokie, and just give that a rinse. And I'll be back. So here we have, I have done all of the lighter shades, adding white to the colours. You can see my palette's getting quite full. So now I'm going to have a go at adding black or grey to the colour just to create that darker tone. So you can see just add in a tiny bit of grey, you get a slightly darker tone. And just like I did with the white, lightening it and lightening it, I'm going to just keep going with that, adding a little bit more grey each time. And you can see my grey is quite bluey grey and it's creating quite a darker green already. Obviously the grey has got that white in it, which gives it that subtle tone. But it's be interesting to see how they all come out, which colours actually react well. I mean, I've got quite a bluey grey, so I should imagine the orange is going to go quite green, but let's see what happens as we go through. So I'm just going to finish up with this one, adding more and more of the grey. Just finishing up, and there we have the grey done. And we're back, and for the final part. So what I've done is create some tone and tint of each of the primary and the secondary colours using white to tint and black or grey, so it was black and grey to tone. And I'm going to pop these now onto my page, and I've kept this because I'm going to use this to write on about what we've done. So I'm just going to gather these up. I'm going to move that out to the way, so don't need that anymore. And let's just gather these up. Oh, that one's still a little bit wet, so I'll just pop it to one side and gather them up. Pop them all to one side. And let's bring the book back in. Really need a bigger desk. I need more space. Let's get that out the way as well. Don't need that anymore. Get that out the way. Don't need that anymore. And there we go. We've got the book. Okay. So you'll see that I've stuck in some brown paper because what I want to be able to write about the complementary colours and how you can sometimes use 2 colours complementary and sometimes 3. But let's have our tones and tints back. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to stick the whole piece on. So what I'm going to do is cut each one in half. I did find that my grey was quite a black grey, a bluey grey, and so it was making lots of the tone quite green, so I ended up grabbing some black and adding some black to the grey. I did cheat a little in that I used purple watercolour, orange watercolour and green watercolour just to give me a true colour to start with. Obviously when it comes to colour mixing and using my watercolour palette, I have got lots of different shades and tones in my watercolour palette, so I'll be able to mix more colours yeah, using the watercolours palette. So these were using the squeezy watercolour tubes of paint. But when we come to actually painting and choosing fabrics, I'll be looking at colours that are already there, if that makes sense. So, last one. And then my idea is, so I'm going to pick one of each. So I have one of each on each side. Dark, dark, light, light, dark, light. Okay, right. So we're going to go round our circle again. So green, blue, purple, red, orange, and yellow. Okay, start with the dark and then the light, dark, light, all the way around. I'm going to stick those down and there. So they will go around that one, and I'm not going to use these just now. I might use these when I start looking at colour palettes, so I'm not going to get rid of them. I'm going to pop those just up there for now. And where is, so the brown circle is cut out of, it's an old envelope that I just pulled apart and I cut out. So I'm going to try and use as much discarded materials in this project as well. So I'm just going to draw around another circle using my paper pinking shears up the right way. We're going to come round. Lovely jubbly. So all that can go to one side. So I'm going to stick the shiny side down. I'm going to write on the not so shiny side. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to glue these on. So start with the dark green, and then I'm going to go light green, dark blue, light blue, that's that one, dark purple, light purple. We should be about halfway round, just about. There we go. And then we had dark red, light red. I'm gluing my drink. Dark orange. Light orange. And dark yellow. Look at that, that's perfect. And stuck it in light yellow. So we've got another starburst of colour that can come in, and that will go up on that top corner somehow. Okay. I might move, yeah, let's have it there. I'll grab this glue. This glue sticks so much better than any other glues, and we're just going to glue that one down. Yes, let's glue that on there. So where's my glue brush? Glue brush, glue brush. I need a bigger desk. There it is. Right. So just glue. Oh no, this isn't my glue brush. This is a paintbrush, but I'll just make sure I wash it properly. Way up, way up. And we can always stick some more on in a bit. Right, where were we? Coming in here. Stick it down, 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 down. Okie dokie. Right. Now I need to add all the theory and the vocabulary and talk about tone and tint. That's going to come down here, and then there's something else just up there. So I will show you a walkthrough at the end of the page, but I'm going to leave you to do your work now, and then I will come back and share the page when it's finished with you. Okay, so now the page is completed. You can see I've put in definition of complementary colours, that they're opposite each other on the wheel, and by choosing these colours when they're opposite, you can create really vibrant contrasting palette. We've got our analogous colours, which are the colours that are adjacent to each other, and they just give subtle shifts in the colouring. So if you've got a blue and a purple, you've got all those shades of purple coming in between, which you'll have with your tints and your tones. We've finished sticking that in. We've got a monochromatic palette. That's when you would just use, so for example, I'm going to pick green, and I'm going to create a whole green palette using the black to tone and the white to tint, but some blue and some yellow, and we'll just focus on those greens. I could do the same with the reds or the purples or the oranges and the yellows, just creating that monochromatic palette where you're just using one hue, one true colour, and then you're lightening it, darkening it, making secondary versions and tertiary versions of, and then we've got our definition for tint and tone. From that, our homework this week is to create a discarded palette. So we've got to go off, take some photos of some discarded items, discarded images that we find out there in the real world or in the home. I might do a picture of my bin, My sunflowers are starting to go over, so I'll probably use one of those. And then we can have a go at creating a palette using what we've learnt in our colour theory. Okay, so I will see you next session. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell and all those things you do to help my channel grow. And I will see you once I've done my homework. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.